What orders from Mordor, my lord?
Tolakaren, friends and foes. Welcome to the 7th faction preview video for DCI Last Alliance. I am Ngugi, team leader, and on behalf of the team I shall present a top challenge, the Orcs of the Misty Mountains. The long quest we offer includes to eliminate Lothlorien and Eringallen, as well as to take key regions from the kingdom of Khazad-dûm. The short quest makes Lothlorien the main target. The faction's strength is that it fields numerous orcs, trolls and other beasts. Their weakness is that the units becomes available through achievements. This feature is however what makes the faction really interesting, and we will get back to this as we enter the campaign. First, let us have a quick look at the history of the Orcs of the Misty Mountains. In the First Age, the Orcs were bred from elves and men to fight against the elves by the first Dark Lord Morgoth and his right hand Sauron. When Morgoth was defeated and the Second Age began, surviving Orcs fled eastwards seeking new homes. They were now masterless and without any general leadership, but they were well armed, savage and very numerous. As they invaded the northern mountains, the Dwarves were outnumbered and the Orcs set up petty realms of their own. After a time the Orcs, who are known as Goblins in the common tongue, were fought back by the Dwarves, who allied with mounted Northmen of Rhovanion. Likely they were also aided by the fact that the independent Orcs always were as eager to fight amongst themselves as against other peoples. Nonetheless, Sauron, who arose as the new Dark Lord in the Second Age, in time managed to unite the Orcs in unreasoning hatred of the Elves and of men who associated with them. In the Great War in the middle of the Second Age, when Sauron invaded Eriador and destroyed Eregion, the Dwarves of Khazad-dûm became involved. Orcs were thereafter commanded to harry Dwarves wherever they might, and Khazad-dûm closed its gate against the outside world. This marked the end of the alliance between Dwarves and Northmen, for though Khazad-dûm remained impregnable, the Orcs, reinforced and commanded by servants of Sauron, captured the mountains again. Gundabad was retaken, the Grey Mountains infested, and the communication between Khazad-dûm and Iron Hills was cut off. This is the situation still at the end of the Second Age, but for a long time the Dark Lord was away, scheming the destruction of Númenor, and his grip on the north got loosened. Yet his agents are ever active. They encourage war, for Mordor has attacked Gondor, with the aim to finally defeat the free peoples of Middle-earth. So, the Misty Mountains will pose a threat to the new alliance of elves and men, and the Dwarves, they still have Sauron's hatred. And welcome to the campaign. We are first greeted by this message that conclude what is going on in the world and give us a reference to the faction information scroll and this will be of great importance to the Orcs of the Misty Mountains, so we will get back to that quite soon. First we have the options of the Balrog and the Nazgul, and we will have a closer look again at this feature because the Balrog is of greater importance to the Orcs of the Misty Mountains than to any other factions except the Dwarves. The Balrog will only appear in a campaign if you accept at this point, and the Balrog will require the construction of a mithril mine. The mithril mine can only be constructed by the Kingdom of Khazad-dûm, aka the Dwarves, and it can be built also by the Orcs of the Misty Mountains. About 50 turns after a mithril mine has been constructed, there will be the risk or chance of the Balrog appearing. If Khazad-dûm, that is where you can construct the mithril mine, is owned by the Dwarves at the time, they are forced out. The settlement change ownership to the Orcs of the Misty Mountains, who also get the Balrog. If the Orcs of the Misty Mountains already own the settlement of Khazad-dûm, then they simply get the Balrog. If the settlement of Khazad-dûm is owned by another faction, there is no effect, there is no Balrog spawning, because conceptually only the Dwarves or Goblins are so experienced miners in these mountains that they might awaken the Balrog. And lastly, the Balrog is a unit, he is not a general as in other mods. Then we get a message, but before we are looking any closer at this message, we shall have a look at the recruitment situation. And if we are checking our settlements here, for example, we have a Goblin town, we can only recruit Snaga skirmishers. And this is despite us having the second level of barrack. The barrack only offers us Snaga skirmishers. In fact, if we are looking at Mount Gundabad, where we can even construct a third level barrack, it will only offer us skirmishers. If we are constructing a practice range, it offers no units. Or if we are checking the wolf territory, that is the same thing as a stable, there are no units.
What is this new devilry?
Well, as the message are telling us, and it comes in the form of a storyline, the High Chieftain is here, and you can pause and read it if you so enjoy. The High Chieftain has been encouraged by the forces or the agents from Mordor to make war. However, the Goblins of the Misty Mountains are not united at this moment, so now the chieftain must make an impression on the Goblins of the Misty Mountains in order to unite them into a force that he can unleash against your enemies. AKA all units except for Snaga skirmishers are unlocked by achievements. This is almost true. We will have a look. There are 3 exceptions. These include sacking, battles against certain factions, holding given amounts of regions, or the capture of certain settlements. The faction information scroll contains essential unit unlock information. It may be viewed anytime in-game via Shift 1 shortcuts. So, what did we just said here? When you start the game, your only option from any of the normal recruitment buildings are Snaga skirmishers. You do not have any other unit except for the Orc-drivers, and the Orc-drivers are units, a very small unit, only 27 men, who inspire nearby troops, and you get that from a larger temple of Sauron that offers you Orc-drivers, but normal units, none available. So, how do we get more units then? Well, we press Shift F1 in order to get the faction information. And here we are noted that new units are made available by achieving certain goals. And then the units are listed one by one. For example, if we want the Goblin Warmongers, we need to hold 10 regions. And 10 regions, we start with 7, so we must capture 3 new regions in order to unlock the Warmongers, who are spearmen, I can note. Then, in order to get Goblin archers, Snaga archers, we must do battle with Eringalen or Lorien. We don't have to win, but there must be survivors of that battle. To get Goblin archers, we must join an invasion plus have the Snaga archers unlocked. To get Goblin raiders, who are swordsmen, we must sack 3 settlements using generals, not captains. And for example, some of these conditions will go hand in hand. If you want to get the Goblin Warmongers, you, as said, must take 3 regions to get up to 10. And if you are making sure that you use a general-led force doing this, and you sack the settlements when you take them, you will at the same time unlock the raiders. This all in all and will mean that you must really unleash your inner orc. You must play aggressive as the orcs of the Misty Mountains, because if you do not, you will experience that your forces grow weaker and weaker in comparison, because you only have this crap Snaga skirmishers to build. Of course, the Snaga skirmishers are nice in that they are quite a large unit. Of course, you have 200 men in them, but they are not very potent in battle. You begin at war with both the kingdom of Khazad-dûm, the dwarves, who you will have in your east and in your south. Then you are also starting at war with Lothlorien here in the south, but Lothlorien are allied to Eringalen, and the Eringalen elves are not unlikely to find you easy picking, and you are at war with their allies, so they are not very fond of you, of course. Expect to have an increased front all along this forest edge. And if you are unlucky, because the Northmen of Rovanion are quite friendly towards the dwarves and quite friendly towards the Sylvan elves of Eringalen, expect them to be on the negative side in diplomatic terms, meaning that you have a lot of hostile neighbors. Even the quite friendly neighbor of the Hillmen of the North are not yet allied with you, but you are allied with the faction of Mordor. To get an alliance with these guys is a good solution to save a little bit of your front line, because you will want to have something safe considering your very outstretched regions. Wormwale in the east is merely a little village, so you cannot rely on that as a good defense position. The Grey Mountains is only a stronghold, aka a wooden castle. Then you have Salonzibar, another wooden castle in the north. You have of course Mount Gundabad, which is a large city, and it is also a cavern. And instead of going into caverns again, I discussed them in the Dwarves video. I presumably will make a little special video just to discuss how they work for more easy access. But same goes for Goblin Town. Goblin Town starts out as a large town, but in time it will grow to as any normal settlement. However, it is a custom settlement, just as Mount Gundabad is. Hithaeglir is a hole, that's a Mutton Bailey equivalent. And in the far south you have Imbargathol, that is also a hold, aka Mutton Bailey. So your position is not so strong when you kick off, but you now have to make sure that you unlock units so that you can hold what you capture. It should be noted that once you have unlocked a unit, you will have it forever on. General suggestions on my part is to avoid getting into battle with the Eringalen elves as long as you may, and you should try, in my experience, to go for a specific target as soon as you can. I, for example, in a campaign I will show a little of in a while, went directly for the Iron Hills, because Iron Hills is see if we can see it here. Well, it is a fortress, and not only is that a large settlement, the military settlements also have no barrack event, so the dwarves are able to construct or recruit elite troops early on, even before the barrack event occurs. That only affects the civil settlements. Thus I made it my plan to take this one out ASAP in order to not have an eastern front against the dwarves, so I could then after a while focus on my south front more. But you could also take the strategic decision to try to take out Lothlorien early, or try to take out Khazad-dûm early, whatever fits your taste.
You magnificent bastard, I read your book!
Unlocking of units do not apply for the AI. In fact, the AI are able to recruit all kind of units except for the trolls directly. And this is to balance up the fact that they are facing so many enemies at once. As noted, they have the dwarves and Lothlorien as instant enemies. The Sylvan Elves of Eringalen will soon pick a fight, and if nothing else, also the Lindon Elves from Imladris are quite likely to try to get at Goblin Town. And welcome to turn 43, where I am just about to recapture Mount Gundabad from the Lothlorien Elves under Celeborn. And I had until this point not had to fight the Lothlorien Elves. I had been very lucky. I had a lot of fighting going on with the dwarves, but until they sent a Tolakarn against Mount Gundabad, where I simply ran away and I let Celeborn take it, and then I came back with a significant amount of Snaga skirmishers. I had not fought them, but simply here I press automatic in order to get this over with, and now I had both taken or reached 10 settlements, and I had been fighting the Lothlorien elves, meaning that 10 settlements, or rather first here we look. Now since I had been fighting the Lothlorien elves, I now get the Snagas. This unit has been unlocked, Snaga archers, and again we get a little story telling us about the event that is taking place. And now I have reached 10 settlements, meaning that the warmongers rally. So again, we get a little story, and this unit has been unlocked, Goblin Warmongers. But talking so much about this, let's jump back a little bit and have a look at the commanders who will lead your forces into battle. And let's begin in the south. We have on the border fort towards Khazad-dûm, we have Gorgol. Gorgol is starting with the commander of the Misty Mountain Ancillary, making him quite decent with command. He has a special ability, whipping, that locks morale and rallies routing troops. That can be good when you are having just quite weak forces and the dwarves might send more capable soldiers against you. Also, Gorgol has a unique bodyguard, the Gorgol Reavers. The Reavers are axemen who are effective against armor, of course. We will look closer at him later on, but for now it can be nice to know that the guy who is keeping an eye on the dwarves is also wielding an armor-piercing unit. Then up in Goblin Town we have we have Lugdush. Lugdush is the guardian of the High Pass, where the dwarves and Bilbo and Gandalf try to pass in the Hobbit, by the way. But he's the guardian and he will make sure that no one pass unnoticed, giving him +1 command and +1 line of sight. He is also recorded as the son of Gorgol. Gorgol is our faction leader, but this gives him 1 command and 1 fear. He has the special ability of Legion Unleashed that increases combat effectiveness and slightly increases morale, and he will be needed if you are attacked from Imladris, because the armies of Imladris are quite eager to look at Goblin Town in the campaigns I played, at least. Northwards in Hithaeglir we have our friend Radzag, who is the mate of wolves, giving him 1 fear and 1 command for cavalry, but also 5 movement range. This is also because he has a warg bodyguard. This is a custom bodyguard that only a few starting generals have, but it will be quite appreciated because it will take some time to unlock wargs of your own and wolves of your own, so these generals who have a mounted bodyguard will come to good use. Then we have in a fort outside Gundabad, we have the High Chieftain himself, Gorgol. He has the ancillary that he is the warlord, giving authority, command and fear. And he has the special ability Legion Unleashed as well. Is there anything otherwise special? It could be noted that the Orc chieftains or generals do have the Night Fighter trait. You will have great need of this because your enemies will try to attack you, but it is standard that the orcs have the Night Fighter trait. Meanwhile, Gundabad itself is empty, but we will get a guest quite soon, so we will get back to that. Salonbizar is guarded by Gasul, who is nothing special. We have Ograd in Grey Mountains. He has the special ability of Orc-drivers that increases combat effectiveness and locks morale. It is not quite as effective as the Legion Unleashed ability, but it is still useful. And in Vale in the east we have Lunug, who has the Mountain Slasher ancillary that gives authority and fear. He has the special ability of whipping that locks morale and rallies routing troops as well. He dislikes Erungalan, giving him plus in case you fight against the Sylvans there. and he has the Orc bodyguards as well. So if you decide to go east and hunt some dwarves, he will ride and attack them from his Borg mount. Then we shall jump ahead a little in time. And as we have got a bit into the campaign, we are here informed about that a Boldog arrives. The Boldog is a special kind of general. They are fallen Maiar, Maiar being spiritual beings who have incarnated themselves. Better known from history are of course Sauron, or the Balrog, or the wizards such as Gandalf and Saruman. And these lesser Maiar, who are known as the Boldogs, have taken the form of Orcs. In the First Age they commanded armies on behalf of Morgoth, while we have taken the liberty to make them generals who have offered their service to the new Dark Lord Sauron, and they are coming in their own companies. Boldog general having a Boldog bodyguard, and this portrait is a placeholder. We will get new portraits from Louis Lux, who made the models before we release the game. But as we can have a look, they are having a special Bulldog trait that gives them quite good stats. Finally, a comment on the faction information. We also have the settlements upgrades restriction, that the orcs are unable to upgrade city type settlements beyond large town. To possess higher level cities they must capture what others have built. However, they have no restrictions on castle or mountain halls settlements, meaning that you can't upgrade civil settlements to cities and of different kinds. The exceptions are those who are cities of cavern type. So these caverns expansions, they will upgrade beyond large town even if they are civil settlements. Just normal large towns cannot be upgraded by the orcs. They however compensate for this with the fact that they can recruit higher level units from the barracks in cities anyway. So these barracks will, when you unlock units, offer all kinds of units, so that while this loss means a penalty to your economical capacity, it will not have a too negative impact on your military capacity. So all this said, let's jump to the battle map, and we shall first have a look at our generals, Boldogs included. First in line is our generic orc bodyguard, and it is the same as in the Third Age. As seen here with our faction leader Gorgol, we have the same orc model for the generals as well. It's a big bodyguard, even if this is slightly larger still because of Gorgol being the faction leader. The attack is 14 with a charge bonus of 5, and the total defense is 24, out of which 12 is armor, so they can handle a bit of pounding. Behind them are the custom general of Gorlun, or rather the custom bodyguard of Gorlun, because his model is also of course the generic one. However, he is having these Reavers, heavy goblin Reavers, as guards. They are made by Taro M for the record. These guys have 12 attack and 7 in charge bonus. Their total defense is 18 with 10 in armor. This slightly less good defense in total is of course balanced out by the fact that the Reavers are effective against armor, their armor piercing ability making them very good against Dwarves, for example, and as we noted, they are placed on the front line against the Dwarves when the game starts. Behind them we are having these Borg bodyguards. These guys are the same model as in Third Age, however the Orcs themselves is another work by Brevi, who we send our gratitude to, as well as of course Taro M. Their attack is 11 with a charge of 5. They have a total defense of 22. Not much armor, but a lot of defense skill. If you are used to Orcs being quite a pushover cavalry, do not, because these guys will be very effective. And these are the Boldogs, of course. Now, the Boldogs are having very good stats. They are having only 26 men in a unit, and this is on large or huge settings, at least it's big. Now, they have an attack of 17 with a charge bonus of 8. Combine that with effective against armor. They are killers on the battlefield. However, only being 26 men is further boosted by the fact that they have 2 hit points, so they can take a mortal blow twice before going down. They have a total defense of 27, 10 armor. It's like an average armor. As we can see, there can be quite big differences between different individuals. So some are very heavily clad and some are quite a little. So 10 is a good average. They have a defense skill of 9, which allows them to handle armor piercing attacks quite well. And they have a shield and block of 8, making them able to take blows from the front very well. Not only do they kill quite easily thanks to their stats, they also frighten nearby enemy infantry, and that is that will help quite a lot on the battlefields. They are only available as bodyguards, and they come as in total 7 roles. One of them is of course Sauron. We won't see him here and now. He will be seen in the Mordor preview, but he has a bodyguard of Boldogs as well. And then there are 6 generals, as we have presented in the preview of the Boldogs already. The Boldogs are rather perhaps than having a bodyguard of Boldogs, you might say that these other Boldogs are having their entourage with them. The first one, and they are 2, the first 2 are those that becomes available for the Orcs of the Misty Mountains. The first one here we have is Makarna, the Red Hand, and this armored gentleman is have apparently had some history with some Dunedain some time ago, because he's wielding a shield that the Dunedain might had used, and he has taken the enemy who owned it and he has nailed his freaking body to the shield and strapped it on. You can still see this body, the armor, the chest armor that is strapped onto the shield, and there's a big nail that bolted the skull to his shield. After him, sometime later, if you're playing the Orcs of the Misty Mountains, you will enjoy to get Volcano, and Volcano is the savage war chief. He has less armor, and he do not have a shield personally, but he is instead holding a skull that we can presume help him put fear into the hearts of his enemies. When you are playing the Hillmen of the North, Sauron of course want you to deliver as well. So these following 4 generals are sent in 2 pairs to the Hillmen of the North with a big space in between, but you will have good use of them nonetheless if you are playing that faction. The first one who will arrive is Gothog, and this warrior is likewise having a shield with the body of the torso and skull of his enemy nailed to it. And together with him you will get Drurog, and this is likewise a wild fighter. Instead of a shield, he is wielding a short sword of bone. I would not be surprised if he had made it out of any of his enemies. Then the second pair we have Kurumog, here dressed in red, a unique feature of his. And together with him comes the well-armored Angrog, whose name means Iron Demon. So those are our both generals among Orcs of the Misty Mountains, as well as the Boldogs who will join the Hillmen of the North. And welcome to the battle map. I have ordered the army in the way you might likely unlock the units, and therefore in the first line we have the Snaga skirmishers. This 200-man strong unit are javelin men, and they have a missile attack of 6, which is quite good. However, they do not have the armor piercing ability, so they are not killer of heavily armored foes as they are or have been in Third Age and other mods. They are quick on their feet, and they should be because their melee attack is 3, they have a charge bonus of 2, however their total defense is only 3, making them better off avoiding melee confrontations. They are cheap, however, and they have a low upkeep, so you will be able to field a lot of them as cannon fodder in order to stay alive early on in the campaign. Then you also have the Orc-drivers. These agents from Mordor are sent north to encourage the Goblins when they are on the battlefield. Thus this unit has the Inspires Nearby Troops ability. This is just by being in the proximity of a unit, it boosts the morale. They are only 27 man strong, so despite having an attack of 13 and a total defense of 15, they should avoid fighting themselves. You want them in order to keep your low tier units longer in battle, preferably fighting till the death. Then the first unit that you will unlock presumably is the Goblin Warmongers. If you're lucky, at least this will be the first one. The Goblin Warmongers require that you capture and hold 10 regions, and thus get this Spearman unit that is having 5 in attack, 4 charge, a total defense of 8, of which 2 is armor only, so they are quite light, but they have an unacceptable shield and block value. This means that they can take more beatings from the front, but they should be careful when attacked in the sides or in the back. Being spearmen, they naturally have a bonus fighting cavalry, so if you want to see them doing something efficient, send them against enemy cavalry. Then you have the Snaga archers. The Snaga archers, as we saw during the campaign play earlier, are unlocked by having a fight with Lothlorien or Eringalen and have some survivors after the battle, whether you won or if you lost. These units are 150 men strong. That is the normal size for the archer units for this faction, a bit smaller than the infantry units does. They have a missile attack of 4, that is standard attack value for bows. However, these little Snagas, they are having quite lousy range, and worse, they have a lousy accuracy, meaning that they can't hit an enemy if their lives depends on it. However, their arrows will cover ground, so if you are firing against a host of enemies, they might not hit the unit that you want them to hit, but they will hit someone, the guy next to the guy you want to hit. So you will never call them a marksman, however they will do their part. Then in what I might call a next line here, we have those who are a bit harder to acquire. We have the Goblin Raiders. The Goblin Raiders are also 200 man strong. The Bannerman brings them up to 201 here. They have an attack of 7, a charge of 4. Being swordsmen, they are efficient against other infantry. They have a total defense of 9, still only 2 armor, and shield and block of 5, so they are a light swordsman unit, but still you will have use of their large number if nothing else. It should be noted some of these models have an axe, but they are still counted as a swordsman unit. Then we have the Goblin Reavers. Oh, sorry, I should have noted. The way to get the Goblin Raiders is to sack 3 settlements using a general. Do not forget that you need the general. I have missed that part when I've played campaigns. I've either forgot to sack settlements I captured, or I forgot using a general, delaying the time to when I could use the raiders, and that proved quite painful for my experiences. So then we have the Goblin Reavers, and now the Goblin Reavers require that you have captured 12 regions and are having 18 victories in your back. So you must have won 18 victories and hold 12 regions in order to unlock the Reavers. The Reavers is a 200 man strong Axeman unit, as you can tell. Of course, it is efficient against armor, being Axemen, and they have an 8 in attack, a charge bonus of 7, so if the enemy are fielding some heavy opponents, you want to send in the Reavers against them. However, they are not so durable. They have a total defense of 9, 2 armor, 5 defense, however, so they are quite resilient against armor-piercing enemies, such as the Dwarves, when 2 shield and block. They are not so expensive either. These guys can be the real lifesaver early to mid-game. And then, because we like to keep the enemy at range, and we want to kill the enemy at range. We have the Goblin archers. These guys, compared to the Snaga archers, has better range and better accuracy. It's the same missile attack, however they do have some defensive capacity with 3 armor and 3 defense skill, and also 5 in melee attack. You should naturally keep them away from melee fighting, but in case they can manage quite a bit. Now, to get them, you must first have unlocked the Snaga archers, and you must have joined an invasion called by Sauron. If you thus have joined an invasion and you have the Snaga archer unlocked, you will be able to recruit the Goblin archers. Then we move on to our cavalry section, and the first unit are the Wolves, and the Wolves are actually an elephant unit, so I could begin to note that those of you who have problems with Ents and they get crashes from Ents might have problems using the Wolves as well, I'm afraid to tell. However, in DCI Lost Alliance, we have the options to, during a campaign, turn off elephant units. So you can remove the Ents and the Wolves and spiders by a feature that I will presumably make a little special video about in order to make it more accessible in the future. Now the Wolves are good at fighting in woods. They are excellent at fighting against cavalry with the bonus. They have an attack of 5 with a charge bonus of 7. They have a total defense of 12 with 2 armor and 10 defense. However, they also have a hit points. They have 4 hit points. These guys are very vulnerable against missile fire, but they are doing a good job killing cavalry. A reason for the many hit points is to balance up that they are so easy to hit with missile fire, because they are counted as elephants, so we have helped them a bit on the way there, but it's a good balance, it works out well. And as noted, you need 13 regions in order to get the wolves for your army. The Orc-drivers, who I noted in the bodyguard section, are really good cavalry killers. They require that you have taken 14 regions, and 6 of those must be in the Vale of Anduin. Checking the faction information scroll, you will know what are those 6 regions, but it is because the Orcs were living in the Vale of Anduin, so you must capture those regions in order to get the Orcs. The Orcs have a bonus fighting cavalry. They have a bonus in woods. Both cavalry units have bonus in woods. No other Orc unit has that. They have an attack of 10 with a charge bonus of 5, a total defense of 19, armor only 4, however 12 in defense skill, making them quite able and good at killing enemies who are using armor piercing, such as dwarves who likes to do that. These guys are not so vulnerable to their attacks. Then we have 2 units who are still work in progress. Earl of Memory is working on them currently, so we will not look too close on them because they're not completed yet, but we will show them their concepts here anyway. This UI is still only from the vanilla game, but that will be replaced also as we goes along. This first unit is the Moria Infantry. The Moria Infantry is an AOR, Area of Recruitment unit. They can be recruited when you have taken Khazad-dûm in Khazad-dûm. They are, however, not unlocked in the usual sense, so you will not get a message when you hold Khazad-dûm that you can recruit these guys. They are simply available because you're holding Khazad-dûm. You can never recruit them anywhere else. To their advantage, however, is that they are 200 men strong. They have an attack of 11 and they have a total defense of 24 with 12 in armor. This is as good as your bodyguard unit. They are, of course, like the bodyguards, using the quality scavenged gear of the dwarven halls of Moria. Then it is the so-called Goblin Waylayers. They are likewise having scavenged armor, but their story is that they are spies who are attacking caravans and traders and small enemy patrols. They are available from the Thieves Guild. The Thieves Guilds usually only would give you a bonus to spies experience, but in this case you will get the unit Goblin Waylayers from it whenever you build it. So it is not a unit that is unlocked. It simply is available when you construct a Thieves Guild, and thus you will not get a message from this unit either. Then we have the back line of Orc units. These are created by Taro M, and who is usually known for his Gondorian units, but in this case he has made some Orc units as well. And we are here looking at who are known as the Goblin Veterans. This heavy swordsman unit is 176 men strong. They have an attack of 11. They have a total defense of 19 with 9 armor, and they have a shield and block of 6. So they are quite heavy on, especially if they are fighting from the front. They will require that you have captured 15 regions, won 35 victories, and hold, or rather have constructed an armorer in Gundabad. Now this might sound a bit more easy than it actually is, because an armorer is the 3rd level smithy. But the Orcs of the Misty Mountains can't construct the armorer when the game begins. Instead, you have to capture a settlement that contains an armorer in order to be able to build it. For example, in my own campaign, I had captured Imladris, and Imladris had an armorer. So thus I could construct an armorer in Gundabad that enabled me to get these 3 units, who all of them requires the armorer in Gundabad. This will make the challenge a bit harder, but there are a few large settlements around you that will have it soon enough, unless it has it already from the start. Then we have the Heavy Goblin Archers. The Heavy Goblin Archers requires only 14 regions and armorer, but also that you hold the Erindolan settlement. That is the capital of the Eringalen Elves, the Sylvan Elves of Eringalen. So if you must hold their capital as well. And of course you need to already have the Goblin Archers unlocked. But if you have fulfilled all those criteria, you will get the Heavy Goblin Archers. These guys have even better range and better accuracy than their predecessors, but also they have a missile attack of 6, not only because they have better arrows, but also because they have poisoned their arrows, giving them the highest possible attack value, and there are only a handful of units in the game that has 6 in attack using a bow. Will make all the orc lovers happy. Also, if they are attacked in melee, they have a total defense of 13, armor is 10, and defense is 3, so they can stand their ground. Thanks to the armor, they are quite capable of having a shootout with an enemy archer unit and stay their ground. And finally we have the heavy goblin Reavers, who we already met in the form of the bodyguard unit before. These guys with their big axes are having 176 man in the unit, 11 attack, 7 charge, 18 in total defense, and both having a small bonus fighting cavalry, since they have so broad blades, cut off the legs of the horse and you have an advantage, but also they are mostly effective against armor. The armor piercing ability is reducing the enemy armor value down to half, so if you can get these guys fighting the dwarves or the elite elven units, you have a big advantage on your side. And then we have the heavy... to gain the heavy goblin Reavers, you must capture 16 regions, have an armorer in Gundabad, and have won 40 victories. So that's how you get them. And then we have the heavy infantry in the form of the cave trolls. These blokes are unlocked by capturing Casa de Doom, and they are naturally effective against armor with their big sledgehammers. They are having an excellent morale. They don't know what fear is because they are not smart enough, I presume. Only 12 in the unit. They are still having an attack of 15 plus a charge bonus of 8. Combine that with armor piercing ability and they are killing it on the battlefield. Their total defense is 29 with an armor value of 22, so they rely very much on their armor. They are thus they are at risk when fighting against armor piercing enemy units, but they will fight heavily armored units themselves very well. 6 defense skill, 1 shield and block. They have 3 hit points, so they will not go down easy, and you will long for them to enter the battlefield on your side. And finally we have a look. This is our little captain model for the game. If you have been with us all this way, we say thank you, and we hope you have got a good view of our faction, the Orcs of the Misty Mountains, and you will enjoy the scripts made by Witnabar, the Boldogs made by Louis Lux, and the new units that will come from Earl, and that you will unleash your inner orc. Cheers.
Resolve!